Good morning, everybody. This is Appio Hunter, your host for today's webinar, How to Create an Event That You Will Never Forget. We are being graced by Carol Miller, who is joining us today and is going to share her expertise on event planning. Carol Miller is a positivity catalyst, a hugger, and a smile creator. I guarantee that she is, because she does it every time I'm around her. She has touched millions by helping them to live a life with maximum joy and passion through coaching, writing, speaking, and her nonprofit organization, Positive Focus. She has also produced events for Greg Braden, Gabby Bernstein, Panache Desai, and many others, along with being part of the production team for the Celebrate Your Life conference. This is really, really exciting to have Carol joining us today. And just so you guys know, Carol is fortunate enough to live right on the water in Chicago. And this week they are hosting the Chicago Air and Sea just Air and Sea event, or
Air and Water Show.
Air and Water Show. I was actually there last year during it, and it can get loud. So we just might be lucky enough to have some jets going by overhead.
We very well could. It looks like right now they're on a break, but it definitely gets loud. So.
Awesome. Well, Carol, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just pour out your knowledge on us.
Thank you, Appio. I also wanted to let people know, before I got into the personal development world, I did PR and event planning for a technology company. So I've done a lot of different trade show events as well. I am not accustomed to speaking on event management, so I did write down some notes so I don't forget anything, because I've been doing this for many years. So if you see me looking off to the side, I am just checking in with my notes. So I am calling this the 3 Ps, and it is purpose, preparation, and promotion of events. And for me, the importance of the purpose of the event is first to know your own purpose. And I saw a video, a TED Talk several years ago that I encourage everybody to watch. It's Simon Sinek. And I forget what the name of it is, but if you type in Simon Sinek on YouTube, it'll come up. And he talks about the power of why, and people buy why you do it, not what you do. So knowing your own purpose and why you're doing what you do allows you to figure out why you're doing the event. And then the second thing I encourage people to do is to know your why of the event. Why do you want people to come to your event? What do you want them to walk away knowing? What do you want to get out of the event? And just to really know your why that you're doing the event helps set you up for success as well. So the third thing I like about the purpose part is, if you've seen the movie Field of Dreams, one of my favorite lines in it is that build it and they will come. And you see all these cars, with headlights going down the field of crops coming to this new baseball field in Iowa. And I think the importance in this is to feel it and they will come. So really get into that feeling place, close your eyes and envision what you want your event to look like, the people that you want to touch, how many people you want to come. And again, what's your purpose behind it? And I think in the trade, a lot of people love to use the term butts in seats. So let's get butts in seats. And that kind of drives me crazy, because I don't really care about people's butts, but I do care about their hearts. I care about their spirit and their passion. So rather than looking at filling your seats with those butts, think about the heart-centered people that you're wanting to attract to your event. Now we're going to get into preparation. And Appio, if you have any questions, I was going to kind of do it at the end, but if something comes up in the meantime, feel free to stop me and bring it in.
That totally works.
Okay, preparation, know your audience. And it's, for me, because I do positivity work, it's like, well, that's a pretty broad audience. But when I'm doing a specific event, knowing, am I talking mostly with women? Is the event geared to women? Is the event geared to men? Is it a mixed audience? Is it geared to the 30 to 40-year-olds? Is it geared to tweens? Whatever, is it geared to a particular organization or a work that certain people do? So the more you know who you want to attract, the better you're able to serve them. And you can have a general audience. Celebrate Your Life has 1,800 people, and it's all about uplifting people to celebrate their life. The vast majority of the audience is women, but there is definitely a mix of everything. So the more you know about who you're wanting to bring in, the better you're able to serve them, the better you're able to promote to them, and the better able you are to get them there at the event. When they're at the event, some things that I encourage you to do as far as engaging them is to really engage all their senses. If you've got a full day event and they're sitting there, ask questions like, how many of you have done this, to get them to raise their hand. And to have a worksheet, if you pass out a worksheet, rather than having it all filled out, leave key words open that they have to fill in. So that keeps them engaged in what you're talking in, because they don't want to miss filling in that last blank kind of thing. So, and also let them know when breaks are scheduled. Because if you don't tell them that they're going to be breaks, they're already fidgeting, wondering when they get to go check their cell phone or when they get to go to the restroom. So kind of keep them updated on what's going to happen for the day, I guess, is important. Another thing for preparation of the event is, what does your event look like? How long is the event? Is it a half day? Is it an hour? Is it a weekend? Is it a week retreat? So when you know what that event's going to look like, it helps you plan and prepare for it. Where is it going to be held? Is it an event that's small enough that it's going to be at your home? Is it something that you're getting a grand ballroom at a hotel? Is it a hotel that is a union hotel, or is it a non-union hotel? Because there's big difference of working with hotels that are union compared to non-union. I could be all day on that, so we're not going to go deep into that kind of thing, but that is something to know as well. And to know your price point for the event. And as far as that goes, I would encourage people to look around their area and see what similar events are. And if you don't have any similarities, just kind of figure out what your audience is going to be willing to pay, and keep it available that you're going to get the people that you want in there. Again, to me, it's really important to know that everything's going to unfold the way it's supposed to. There are going to be things that you might forget, or there's going to be things that go better than you expected, but it really is all perfect for what it needs to be at that moment. Know your break-even point. Know how much, you get to decide how much, some venues are going to give you space for free if you get enough food and beverage. Some venues are going to cost you, your marketing materials might cost you. You may do Facebook ads. So know whatever your outgoing money is compared to your tickets, so you kind of know what a break-even point is. But also understand these events, especially live events or even online events, you are marketing yourself as an expert in your field. So you're really adding a lot of value. I mean, you're really marketing yourself while you're marketing your event. So even if your event doesn't make you thousands and thousands of dollars, done well, these people are going to come to your next event. They're going to buy your book. They're going to sign up for your mailing list. So you're really creating your audience at each one of your events too. So sometimes the value is something you really can't measure in dollars, but it is a value there nonetheless. And know the size of your event. Is it 10 people? Is it 500 people? Is it 1,000 people? When you have expectations on that, are you going to need staff to help you? Is there going to be 3 tables to register people? Is it 1 person registering people? So knowing how many people you're going to need that day is helpful to make things run smoothly as well. And then I use 3 forms for my event planning, from small to large. Obviously, the larger event, the forms are larger, but I still use all 3. And one is a timeline, one is a production schedule, and one is a checklist. So the timeline is the first one. And when do you start a timeline? You start the timeline as soon as you plan the event. You may not even know where it's at, but on, let's just throw a number out, December 1st, 2015, we're doing an event. So that timeline, you put at the bottom, December 21st, you work your way up and you add everything possible you can think of. I need to come up with a title for the event. I need to write the copy for the event. I need to add it to my website for the event. I need graphics for the event. I need anything that you can think of that you're going to need between now and the actual event date. Write it in your timeline. And then you're going to go back and fill in. Okay, I need this right away. So this is week 1, I need to have this. Week 2 is this. And the determination of how long your timeline is, again, as soon as you know the date, you're going to start your timeline. But if your ticket pricing is fairly inexpensive, and that's per audience. Some audiences, $500 is inexpensive. Some audiences, $35 is inexpensive. So knowing your audience, if it's a lesser price point, you don't need that long to market it because people don't need to save to come. You know, I could come up with $50 tomorrow for an event that I'm excited about. And maybe I can come up with $150 tomorrow, but I probably can't come up with $2,000 tomorrow. And if it's a long event where you're going to have to take time off of work, you want to give people that time to plan their schedules too. So if it's a week event, I'm going to probably start, if I know of it, and hopefully you do, I'm going to let people know of it a year out. I probably won't start my heavy marketing until 6 months out, but they're going to know, kind of like a save the date kind of thing is what I like to do for that. So put all that kind of information on your timeline. The production schedule is for your use for the day of the event. And that's going to take, like we're going to use for an example, Saturday afternoon. The event's from 1 to 5, but what time does the registration start? Does it start at noon? Does it start at 12:30? We're going to say our volunteers, if it starts at noon, our volunteers have to be there at 11:30, setting up ready for the guests to come. On the production schedule, we will have had, when we've talked to AV, if we have microphones or any kind of audio visual needs, that we've worked with AV and tested it to make sure the batteries are ready and that everything is working well. I bring my production schedule, and it really depends on the size of the event. But if I have multiple speakers on the same stage, my production schedule will say 1 p.m. from 1 o'clock to 1:05, I go on stage and welcome everybody. I introduce the next speaker. At 1:05, the speaker comes up, and they're there from 1:05 to 1:35. Then 1:35 to 1:40, I'm up there again introducing the next speaker. But I have it all listed so the people who are running the event know what's coming next and what time we should be. It's easy to fall behind, and sometimes you go ahead, but at least you have an idea of what you're working with. I also have the breaks put in the schedule. Sometimes, depending on what speakers you're working with, they don't like to determine, they want to know when it feels right to take a break. But if you've got vendors, the vendors want to know when they can expect people to stop by their space. So at the welcoming, I'm like, hey, we got a great group of people out here with some information that's going to help you, and at break time, go visit them. So that's another thing that we would do. And then the third form, it kind of seems a little silly, but it's a checklist. And on that, I have scissors, I have pens, I have paper, I have pencils, I have staples and staplers, and anything possible that registration might need, or that I need to hang a banner that I didn't know I wasn't going to have the ability to hang at the hotel. So any kind of information that's going to help make that day successful is on my checklist. So I check everything off. And I tell you, the thing that I forget more than any is Kleenex. If you're working an event that is emotional, a hotel will give you 1 box of Kleenex in a room. But if you've got, 50 people in there, and at any time several of them are crying, you want more Kleenex in there. So I put Kleenex on that checklist, and I talk to the hotel to make sure that they have it covered, or I bring it if it's in a personal kind of space. So that checklist just helps me, again, and better prepare. And I think the more, when you're working these things, it's those little details that tend to fall off because you're focused on that big event of what you're going to say at the event kind of thing, rather than the details to run the event. Also on the timeline part, I don't think I mentioned the promotional marketing timeline, but I'm going to mention that more when I talk about how to promote your event and the marketing materials. So if you create on the timeline, if you're creating a brochure or you're creating a flyer or whatever, I really encourage you. I don't do a lot of print marketing anymore. I mean, some of the people who hire me do, so I still use it for them. But my own events, I don't do a lot of it because, first of all, there's outgoing cost to create it, unless you're a graphic artist, which I'm not. So you're paying the graphic artist, then you're paying the printing, and then you're begging people to help spread these flyers and brochures all over the community. So if you're going to do it, and many people still find it to be a very valuable tool, I would encourage people to put something on that marketing piece, whether it's $10 off, a free download, of something that they get, but something that you can actually see out of your 500 flyers. You heard back from 20 people that they actually bought a ticket from. So that way for future events, you can see if that they were of a value or not. Now, part of that you really can't track because a lot of people may see the flyer and still buy the ticket, but not use the information on there. So you can't always guarantee, but that's one way that you can kind of see what's going on as far as your ticket options.
Carol,
yes.
real quick question for you on the tracking where the purchases are coming from. If, say, for instance, somebody wants to use a flyer or print material, have you tried, for instance, using different URLs for the registration so you know where it actually came from?
Yeah, you can do that as well. It depends on the package they use. Like my events, I use Eventbrite and it's pretty robust for it being a small business kind of thing. Obviously, you can go into a lot bigger campaign products that will even give you more value for that. But definitely, you could use it URL. I find on flyers it gets a little challenging because unless the URL is really specific, people /HD. I mean, they just don't know how to type that in. And I will discuss that as far as helping promote that too, because people take for granted that we assume people know how to use Facebook for promoting. And unless you're in the business, you don't know how to. Yeah. You know how to do it socially, because that's the whole point. It's a social avenue.
Awesome.
So now we're going to talk about promotion, and knowing your audience again is very helpful because now you know how to promote to them. If you're doing a women's event and it's 30-year-olds and there's a good chance that they have kids, you're probably not going to do it at a time that they're going to have to be with their kids. So you really, by knowing the audience, allows you to know what time you're going to do it, helps you with the cost that you're going to charge for, and so many different things. Again, don't not do it because you don't know your audience. It's just something that helps you along the path. For promoting, get buy-in from your stakeholders. If probably your hotel's not going to help promote the event, but other locations you might have, they may put it on their calendar that you're coming in. If you have vendors, make sure they're sharing the information. Your volunteers should be sharing the information. Your friends and your family, anybody who has a stake in the success of this event should be sharing it. And so get that buy-in with your stakeholders. And for those stakeholders, make sure you give them what you want them to say. Again, don't expect them to be marketing people and write marketing copy because it's a completely different animal than just a normal conversation. So share them what the little 140 characters that they need to put on Twitter would be and things like that. Just give them a few options. You can also do affiliate links, and that's a big market for a lot of people. If you have a large email list, you can make a lot of money doing affiliates as the affiliate person. But for the event person, as long as you know your bottom dollar of what you need to make, you can create an affiliate for people and give them 10%, 20%, up to, you can give them 75% of the ticket, depending on what you want. I would encourage you with people that you know that have a like-minded audience and have a big list, give them a little bit bigger cut, really incentivize them to share your message with people. And you're not going to lose any money by having them promote the heck out of it until they buy a ticket. So they may post on Facebook and share on an email, and if nobody buys a ticket from it through that link, then you're not out money. There's a lot of people who will see, oh, I saw it on such and such's page, but they still go to your website. So they don't necessarily connect the dots. So it's still a good resource for marketing. Some people live by early bird pricing. I have found of the last few years, people tend to buy late. And it's like, unless it's a rock concert that's going to sell out, but I even see a lot of concerts where there's gold star tickets, for the really high rafter seats. So early bird pricing needs to really have a cost benefit. If your ticket's $100 and you're doing $20, and again, it's knowing your audience. If your ticket's $100 and that's a little stiff, $20 off may be a good price point for them that they're going to buy it early. But for me, like if it's $5, $10, I'm going to save my weekend plans until I know, unless I'm really incentivized to buy early. So that's one thing, but it certainly does work. It's just, I have not found it to be a huge success, but it does let people know that it's coming. So it's still a good marketing tool. Another thing, and a lot of people are scared to do this. I learned this from when I went to a Brendon Burchard event, money back guarantee. And his event that I was at, 700 people, and he always does money back guarantee. He's like, out of 700 people, yes, a couple of people may take advantage of it and still get the content that they came for, but want their money back. But he's like, 30 people are going to register because they feel comfortable knowing if it's not what they wanted, they're going to get their money back. So, and they're going to enjoy it. So very few people, he's like, maybe 1 or 2 people each event have ever asked for their money back. And even that is a rarity, especially when you don't, when you're still building your brand and building your audience and building the fact that you're, an expert in your field. If the ticket price is higher, letting them know that if it's not what they wanted, that they can get their money back is probably going to encourage them to register more than, I don't know this guy, why am I going to spend my money with him? So it's really, I don't think I've said it, but any of these tips that I'm giving you, it's important on how it feels to you. There is not a tried and true way to make a successful event. There is a tried and true. It's going to be more successful if you are behind the feeling of it. If you get into the scarcity and lack and fear of it, which does creep in, then you're kind of behind the 8 ball on that. So any of these tips that I'm giving you, feels good, use them, and if it doesn't, let them go. I am not going to force anybody to do anything. Next, when should you start promoting? As soon as you know the event. Again, if it's a lesser dollar value and in a year you're going to do a $35 ticket, it's probably not going to sell a ticket a year in advance, but it still puts it in the minds of people. And I would kind of almost do it, save the date. I'm so excited about what's coming up in February. And don't give them that much details, but just, start letting your audience know something is coming. And again, by price point and time is how I determine the money value of it. If it's a more expensive ticket or if it's a longer investment in time, then I will make sure I'm promoting further in advance. Because people are later to buy, my personal time, like Celebrate Your Life, it's coming up in November. We are promoting it now. We usually start promoting that event 6 months out because people travel from all over the world for it, and it's a long weekend. I think there's several price points. It's like $420 and can be a little bit more if you buy a few extra things. So we do promote that out further. My individual events, when I've worked with Greg Braden and Gabby Bernstein, the ticket price was anywhere from, I think it was $55 to $125. And I pretty much did it 8 weeks. Like I told people as soon as we scheduled it and the contracts were signed, but my heavy promoting started at 8 weeks out and really got strong at the 4 week out, because out of all my personal speaker events, it's been the last week to 10 days that I would say 50% of my tickets are sold. Some people, I love Gabby Bernstein, and as soon as it's mentioned, they're buying a ticket. But it tends to be that I found in my experience, it's last minute that people buy tickets for. So again, the 8 week part. And I encourage you, don't make all of your promotions on heavy selling. Get people to really trust you as a trusted advisor. And that's where education marketing comes into play. So let them know ahead of time, give them some tools before they even get to your event on, oh my gosh, I really trust this person. Look what they're already sharing with me, and I haven't even shown up yet. So really become that trusted advisor, and by being that trusted advisor, your next event that you do or book, or if you get into affiliate marketing and you recommend somebody else's event, they trust you. They trust that you're telling them a good event to go to, so they're going to buy that event too. So the more you gain the trust of your audience, the better that helps as well. And as far as the marketing and copy, and this is for your event itself, as well as the selling of the event and the promoting of the event, keep it simple. I don't know if you've seen some events that go on for paragraphs on paragraphs and paragraphs on what you're going to learn. And as the producer, it seems like, oh my God, look at all this information I'm giving everybody. It's going to be fabulous. But as the reader, I have stopped reading about 3 sentences in. So I always put my reading hat on when I'm writing copy for the description of the event and for promoting the event. As a writer, I can talk for days and I can write for days. But as a reader or a listener, I'm going to tune out much quicker. So a quick couple sentences, 3 bullet points on what they're going to get out of it, and then a read more here. Click on that link, and then it could go into your paragraphs of detail if people really want that full information. But the quick thing just needs to be the who, what, where, when, why, how much kind of thing. The full detail can be more about the experience that they're going to have the weekend or that event. And it may not affect everybody who's doing events, but since I live in Chicago, my suburban audience freaks out as soon as they know I'm doing an event downtown. So I give them parking information. It's like, okay, this garage is this much money. Here's how much the meters cost here. Here is a link to be able to get discounted parking kind of thing. So I give them as much. Here are the CTA schedules to get you to this venue. So I try to give them as much information to alleviate their stress getting there, because, and again, a smaller community, that's probably not a big deal. But a lot of people, like if they've not gone before and they're going by themselves, they're already nervous. So give them as much information to make them comfortable as possible. So again, so I would just give them that kind of information, and maybe what they can bring. If it's a full day event and food's not included, I'll even list out a few local restaurants that they can go to in the area kind of thing to help them out for that as well. Promoting on social media. I love social media. I manage people's social media sites, so I'm on it all day. People forget that it's still social. The whole point is to connect into a community. It wasn't started to be a sales avenue, although it is a great tool to do so. But the most common person on social media is not there marketing their business or their events. They're there to talk to their aunt who lives across the country. They're there to like the cool memes that come up and stuff like that. So when you're asking your stakeholders to promote for you on social media, give them the copy. Explain every time you like, when I posted about the event, it shows up to a broader audience. It goes in their newsfeed. The friends get to see it. So it's really, it goes back to the why for me. Why am I asking you to do this? And if people know the why, they're more likely to do it. When you just hit share and don't add a comment, if you look at friends, there's much less likes and comments on something that is just simply shared. If you hit share and say, oh my God, this was the coolest article I've ever read, there's going to be more comments and people are actually going to click on that link. But and sometimes our mobile devices, it's hard to write something. So sometimes you don't have that opportunity. But the more you share your passion and your purpose of why you're doing what you do, you're going to engage that with other people as well. So I would encourage that, and to give them as much information ahead of time. Let them know that you are there. Give them the graphics that they may need. And if there's somebody who really doesn't know how to do it, just say, come to my page and hit like. Come to my page and make a comment. I'm excited to come. I can't wait to be there. Thank you. Just be part of the conversation to get some more heart-centered people there as well. And then I did add a 4th P, and it's post-event. I think it's something that we kind of forget about, and that's to thank people. Send them either an email, a card, or whatever to thank them for their time and their energy. And it's remembering that you're building your audience. Every event you do is helping create your own personal community. So thank them, either ask in the email or send them an anonymous survey if you want to do it that way. But lead them in what you're wanting. It's kind of like, I think about when you ask somebody, it's like, hey, how's your day going? Oh my God, the weather's so hot and blah, my shoulder hurts or whatever. And people go down that doom path instead of saying, what's going well in your day today? And all of a sudden they can't complain about their shoulder because, well, some can't. You're still going to get people who do, but you've shifted them into thinking about what's going well. So the survey is like, what did you appreciate about the weekend? What could be enhanced about the weekend? I prefer using the word enhanced over improved because I go back to the fact that even if something didn't go well, it was meant that helped me grow as an event planner. It helped me grow as a participant or whatever. So it was supposed to happen. Now, how can I enhance it? How can I enhance my successes to make them even better successes? So those are different things. And finally, it really is about remembering that every event is marketing you too. So be you. And I think it's like have fun. I think it's easy. Most people who are doing events like people, they're outgoing and they wouldn't be doing it. But often, I know, especially for the speakers, that day you're nervous, you're hoping you remember everything to say. Did you, is everybody going to get the value? So all of a sudden you've got this serious sullen face going on, and people who don't know you are like, why am I here? So remember to be the person that you want to come to your event. Be approachable and smile and know that what you give, it will come back to you. So those are just some quick and easy tips. Again, I could go on, I could drill down on almost all of these tips into a presentation on their own. So that is Event Management 101. How is that?
I really like that, actually. It's really good, solid information, and it's a good way to get started, especially if you've never done this before.
Yeah.
I've been enough to, as an attendee, but also behind the scenes a little bit myself, that I kind of see both sides, and I really appreciate. In fact, the thing that really stuck out for me the most is probably the checklist, the tiny things on the checklist.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I had an event with a speaker, and I was running it, 500 people. We were all in the main grand ballroom at one time opening the event. He always has a 8-foot circular table in the middle with tea light candles burning. So I'm already dealing with the hotel not happy about this. And he's decided he wants, because it's a summer event, we're going to have 50 beach balls in the room with people hitting them. And so I'm like, I got to keep hotel people out of here because they're going to hit is something going to explode? So that's my focus, is safety and no fires.
Yeah.
And checklist, I or somebody, I don't know who, forgot to pack the machine to blow up 50 beach balls. And these were huge beach balls. So we went to, Walgreens or something and got these tiny battery operated ones that burnt out on like 3 beach balls. So I have to ask volunteers and some of his regular guests. I'm like, okay, people, before this tonight, here's what we're doing. And I just handed them out, and people were individually blowing them up. So checklist, make sure you have the high-powered air compressor with you. It would have been much easier of the event, but it all worked, and people bonded over losing oxygen, blowing up beach balls. And we didn't start a fire that night. So
in fact, at the event that we were just both in Key West, we had beach balls there as well. I actually tried, and we had I don't know if you remember, we had an inflatable piggy pool where we put a lot of the beverages in.
Yeah.
I tried blowing up that pool. I was like red in the face and breathless, but after the first attempt, I'm like,
Well, it was also 95 there, so.
It was. That's true. It was 95, and it was really humid too. So I really appreciate the blowing up stuff. It takes something to blow stuff up.
Well, and if you know that it's going, something is going to fall through and it's okay, then you're not going to freak out so much when it does happen. It's always interesting to me, especially the bigger events. People will come up to me like, I want your job. I mean, if things are going smoothly, the attendees have no clue the hours upon hours that you put on before the event, let alone the hours you're putting on at the event. They're like, how do I become an event manager? And I'm like, better make sure you want this job. I mean, I love it, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. So
I really agree with you. There are times that I'm like, you know what? I think I want to be there more as the participant, not the planner. And it's
yeah,
true. It's something you have to really, truly love and enjoy
yeah.
for it to go well.
Well, and I think I'm just wired that way because I actually have a hard time being a participant because I'm always wanting, even events that are well planned. I'm focusing on, oh my gosh, that was brilliant how they did that, rather than necessarily focusing on the content of what they're saying. I'm like, oh, that was perfect timing. To ones that I'm like, oh, I really need to help them. So it's hard for me to take my production hat off.
I love it though, but that's what makes you so good at it too.
Yeah, I love it.
So I am really curious about what you mentioned toward the beginning about union versus non-union hotels. I know that you said you could go off on an entire new presentation just on that alone, but I wanted to get a little bit more of your take on it. Some of the general challenges,
Okay, sure.
advantages and disadvantages and challenges that you might face
Sure.
when dealing with that type of situation.
Well, a good example is you're probably going to run into more union in larger cities like Chicago. Oh, I'll talk about a pet peeve in event marketing in a moment too. It drives me crazy. But in Chicago proper, it's a union town. So I don't know. I suspect all the hotels in Chicago are union. Perhaps not. There might be one or two, but it's a union town. So union hotels, the fees are going to be a little bit more expensive. You're not able to do the work yourself. So if you want to rearrange chairs, like you can do it, but you just got to make sure nobody's in the room because you get in trouble. So you just ask them, it's like, okay, we want it in a circular shape now or whatever. But they really, and I mean, a good hotel wants you to do that anyway. I mean, they still want to help, but a union hotel insists upon it. It's a liability for if you were to get hurt, moving that chair is a liability to them. So it just adds to that. Now for Chicago, some people do more events on the outskirts or New York or anything. And my pet peeve is when you say coming to Chicago and the event's 50 miles out of Chicago. Like say Chicago area, say Metro yeah. Chicago. But when you're 50 miles away from where people think they're going to be, because I've had people at those events say, how can I go downtown for dinner? I'm like, it's going to be 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 90 minutes if it's rush hour traffic. So, it's managing expectations and letting people have a say in where they're going to be.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I also had a couple of questions regarding, marketing. I know that the size of your marketing budget obviously is going to vary depending on the size of your event.
Right.
But do you have any guidelines or rules of thumb that you follow when trying to decide how much of a budget you should set for marketing and promotion?
I do most of mine organically. For my personal events, I do just a lot of outreach on Facebook, and I ask for the vendors, because most of my speaker events, we have a vendor trade show with it as well. So I ask all of them, share it in their emails, and I share it in my email list, and I share it on Facebook and things like that. I do some Facebook ads. For me, I have found that just to be better helping grow my audience rather than growing a ticket. So I think it needs to go on what feels right. And your audience, like Chicago, again, it's a massive, huge market. So Chicagoland can be 2 hours away. So are you marketing to the people who are 2 hours away and it's a stormy day, they're not going to come? Or are you marketing to the people within, the 20-mile radius that you have a better chance of getting there? So it's really, when you know your audience, you have a better judgment on what you should spend. And it's kind of, if you're new to doing events, it's kind of play around with it and see what works best for you too.
Okay. Which actually is a great segue to the other question that I had was, what have you found to be the most effective promotion and marketing methods? And it sounds like you really answered the question. For you, it really depends on your audience, on you, the event, all kinds of different things. Really are.
A lot of things come to key, but to me, it's building the excitement, getting people talking about it. Because, for me, especially in the personal development world, it's about community as much as it is about learning. gone to and done these events for so long, many of them I'm not necessarily learning new material.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reinforcing material that I know, but it's about being in that energy. I mean, I can do an online webinar, which I love, but it's being with the other people at it. You cannot replace that energy. So it's kind of like reminding people that live event, you're going to meet new friends that you didn't know before you came to this event. So really to build a community feel and have testimonials of people who have been there before, a short testimonial, short snippets of videos. I've been encouraging Celebrate Your Life and like just do some fun videos. You're in the office and, writing up a brochure or whatever, but just, let people feel they're part of it. When they feel a part of it, they're going to want to be there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I actually ran out of questions.
All right. Well, if anybody has more than when you post it, they could just ask it under that.
Excellent, excellent. And actually that brings up another important point. How do we get in touch with you? How does the audience that are maybe watching the recording get in touch with you if they want to use you for event planning or tap into your expertise further?
Sure. My website is carolccmiller.com and my email is carol@carolccmiller.com. So they can reach out to me that way or on Facebook.
Yep, but we're connected on Facebook for sure.
Yes, we are.
Well, that's great. Carol, this has been huge for me. And so many of the people that are, planning these types of events or looking to attend or even, both sides of it. It's really.
Well, I think it's interesting, especially like when you go to an event and if you're in like, oh, I want to do one. And until you've done one, it's easy to miss the little details. So hopefully this will help people start their event process a little easier.
For sure. One thing I will toss out there from my own personal experience is that if at all possible, if you're thinking of planning an event, try to get in on the back end as a volunteer so you can see what it's like on the back end. And that way you know whether or not you actually want to be involved with the planning versus just participating.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a different ballgame when you're part of that. And you see all the things that go on behind the scenes that if it's well run, the audience does not see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So cool. Well, Carol, thanks so much. And
thank you.
For all of those who are able to join us live or who will be watching the recording, we want to thank you as well for being part of the Project Positive Change video series. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Y'all take care.